otivation that happens when you get with other people who are on the same page with you. You call it synergy or agreement, or Jesus saying where two or more gathered together in my name. There's just something that, and we all need quiet time. We all need alone time. I'm not saying you always have to be with people, but there is something that you can only get with people, and it's like you find your missing pieces. I mean, really, I'll probably talk about this. Well, next Sunday I don't know if y'all know who Doug Wentz is, but he's going to come next Sunday. We're going to do In the Now, like I did with John Scott, and you will love this guy. A lot of amazing revelation. But before the month's up, I don't want the month to get away without making sure everybody understands that you can't talk about unlocking yourself without people in your life, because there are people that you meet who they are part of the keys of the kingdom, of your kingdom. There are people who unlock. We were just talking about the way in this morning about the way things we feel about life in general, and about love and about marriage or whatever that we never felt before, and it's because it's authenticity unlocks you, and you live your real life, and you get comfortable in your own skin and put your full weight down in your identity. It's just, there's nothing like it. And I really do have a good word. Really do have a good word. So we're in agreement. It's a beautiful day. God is here. Please remain standing, and we'll play this while the rest of the people come in. Cue the drums. Good morning, buenos dias, bonjour, welcome to Metron. It's a beautiful day in historic Midtown in the month of October, which is kind of my favorite month until next month, and then I'll say November is, but October kind of off the record is. And beautiful day to be here, and I am glad that you are here. I'm glad that my youngest son, Jonah Elijah Swilley, is with us as well, and he's a good man and has a good gift to share with us this morning. So without any further ado, would you please welcome the one, the only, Jonah Swilley. Hey, bud.
How's everybody doing this morning? Awesome. I feel like I get so much, I don't want to say happier when it's this weather, but I do get happier when it's weather. Feels so much better.
It makes sense to me.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So I'm going to sing a little song to get us started. This is just, a little love song I wrote, and we're going to get into some other stuff too. Cool. And Charles, if I get a little more vocals, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. Darling, you say you're going out, making my day, but I don't know how. Life is on Mars when I'm with you. Whenever you go, I'll be leaving too. Oh, you have a way to make me love. pardon the way I've been showing out. You're taking away my guarded doubt. Life isn't hard when I'm with you. Whenever you leave, I'll be leaving too. Why you have a way to make me love? Oh, you have a way to make me Thanks, guys. And if Charles, if I get a little more guitar, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Down here, down this way. Cool, thank you. I'm gonna sing some worship songs that I like, and we're gonna see how this goes. I left my capo, so I'm gonna sing in a different key. So yeah. Take my life, I lay it down at the cross where I am found. All I have I give to you, oh God. Take my hands and make them clean. Take my heart in purity, so I may walk in all you have for me. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. Jesus. Take my moments and my days. Let each breath that I take be ever only for you, oh God. Whoa, whoa, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. Whoa. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. One more time. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. You sound great. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. Sing it one more time. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Yes, Lord. Oh, I am yours and you are mine. Jesus. I've seen this one before, and I think you guys may know it. Falling on my knees in worship, giving all I am to see your face. Lord, all I am is yours. My whole life I placed in your hands. God of mercy, oh God, I bow down in your presence at your throne. So I call, and you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I wanna be where you are. Let's do it again. So I call, and you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I wanna be where you are. My whole life I placed in your hands. God of mercy, oh Lord, I bow down in your presence at your throne. Let's sing that again. My whole life I placed in your hands. God of mercy, oh Lord, I bow down in your presence at your throne. So I call, and you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I wanna be where you are. Yes, Lord. I call, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I wanna be where favorite part.
My life be lifted high, our world be lifted high, and our love be lifted high. Oh, in my life, be lifted high, our world be lifted high, our love be lifted high.
Can I hear you sing it?
Our life be lifted high, our world be lifted high, our love be lifted high. I call and you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I wanna be where you are. I call, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I wanna be where you are.
Thank y'all.
Well, you did them fine in whatever key you did them in. That worked. And I never heard you whistle before. I don't think I taught you that, but I'm impressed. Good job. Good job. Thanks, Wellington. Appreciate it. You may be seated. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you all for being here this morning. And a lot of good things to talk about today. We did have our October event, and can you believe this is the third fall at Metron that because we went to Dillard House, and then we went to Smith House, and yesterday we drove up to Chattanooga. The only thing that could have possibly made it a little more perfect is there just been a little bit more color in the leaves. It's been very dry this year, so but the higher elevations definitely had it. You could see when you drove up Lookout Mountain, it goes from green to orange. It's just amazing how nature works. But it was beautiful. And then by the time Ken takes pictures of them and pops the color a little bit, like, oh, there's fall. So, oh yeah, there it is. That was us looking down on Tennessee River yesterday, and they call that Moccasin Bend and that's our beautiful peoples. And Bee's Restaurant, it's a iconic institution. Like when Obama was campaigning in Chattanooga, that's the first thing he asked is, how do we get to Bee's? But it's been there since 1950, and it has not, kind of like Mary Mac's. I mean, it's the same. It's just like it always was. And I think the general consensus is that it's possibly I think it's the best fried chicken I've ever had. And I, I'm a preacher from the South, so I know from fried chicken, and it's like. And I know some of y'all are vegetarians, so just look the other way. But that was funny. Ginger got her cup. And it's not too greasy, it's not too dry, but it's the vegetables, everything. And it's a hoot because it's like a big lazy Susan. So it's just, there's no ambiance whatsoever. But it's just went up to Lookout Mountain. As a matter of fact, I even think, do you have that little video? I see you. This cracks me up.
Y'all are so loud. This is the loudest group in here. You're going to get me kicked out of Bee's Restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry I'm moving so fast. Hope you don't get
y'all like
motion
that?
sickness.
The chicken is, they're not lying about the chicken. The fried chicken. It's for real. This chicken is not playing.
That's good stuff. Barbecue was good.
Some of y'all have never seen you inch yourselves in the movies. I had one more. This is the one that cracks me up.
Like right
Just wait.
What'd you like best at B's?
Fried chicken.
Fried chicken, Jesus. I'm telling you. We're nothing wrong with this.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking, he was going to ask me. I was like, oh no.
That was so funny. That should be an ad. Anyway, it was great. Thank you so much. To segue into nutrition again, it's actually, the food's not, I know fried food's not that good for you, but the food's not, I mean, it's a lot of vegetables. It's not like I mean, it's good, clean, and you vegetarians would have been fine. They had, what, pinto beans and okra and corn and chicken dumplings isn't a veg. I'm making a case for vegetables. Anyway, our challenge, sounds like all we do is eat. Our challenge last week was, we're going through all the vitamins, and we were up to B6. And so that's my banana. That's BJ's banana. That's Renee's. No, I mean Joyce's banana. And this looked really cool. What Ernie made. Ernie's quite a chef. You might not know it, but it's what was it like? It banana. It's like a truffle. It's rolled in pistachios. It was really good. Was that Leona's chicken that she wanted to make sure she figured out the hashtag? All right, that's good. That's cute. And wasn't that Rachel's cereal up there? And so anyway, it was good. I want to take a break from the vitamins this week, but it's still a health one. And this one's going to be a little bit of a challenge because the weather's cooler. But I've been reading a lot about the importance of perspiring. Sweating is actually extremely healthy. And I know some of you have jobs where you perspire, but I'm talking about like getting in the gym. As a matter of fact, that's one of the ways you can tell you're in good shape is because you quickly break a sweat. It's, you're going to have to take a shower afterwards. But if people that don't sweat, and I'm deodorized and everything, so I don't want to do it, but it really is good for you. I was even reading this week that, I don't know if this is for, I guess it's true for women too. I was reading an article about men's health, that people who at least take a sauna once a week, preferably every day, they cut in half their risk of heart disease, and it actually makes you less likely to have kidney stones. It's all kind, yeah, and there's a lot of toxin buildup in your. I wasn't planning on sitting, but since it's here, so anyway, I don't know how you can do it. Like if those of you that do regular workouts, break a sweat and get a picture of your perspiration and hashtag it. And but it really is good for you. And I live in such an air-conditioned world. Even when I go to the gym, it's air-conditioned, so it's like you got to really work to break a sweat. So I want you to sweat this week, and because it's good for you. Actually, I don't think I need this. So that's, and then we'll get back on the vitamins next week. Y'all good? Oh, thanks, bud. Appreciate it. And our outreach is, of course, the Alzheimer's Foundation. That money's already been sent. We had to send it back through a second time for Swilley, Jim, Minnie. If this is you, yes, it is me, Alzheimer's people. I'm trying to send you money. Also, what did you want to come here? What did you want to tell us about the? Yeah, come on up. Please tell the group who you are.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. It's like a 12-step group.
I wanted to.
You have to get in the shot.
Okay. So speaking of food, I wanted to mention the Teal Pumpkin Project since trick-or-treating's coming up. I don't know how many of you guys are going to be giving out candy, but 1 in 13 children these days have some kind of food allergy or intolerance, like nuts or dairy or gluten, and so that's kind of close to my heart since I've been gluten-free for like a year and a half and can't do tomatoes and all kinds of stupid stuff. So the Teal Pumpkin Project is an initiative to help those children who have food allergies feel included. So if you put out a blue or teal pumpkin on your porch, that lets everybody know that you have non-food or allergy-safe treats that don't include like chocolate or something. A lot of the real safe ones are like Skittles or Dum Dum lollipops, or if you go to the dollar store, get some like pencils or erasers or something. And then those kids can still take part in trick-or-treating, which they probably will, but usually when they go home, like most of their candy gets taken away because they can't eat it. So that way they have stuff that they know that they can eat. And Target puts out a list of all the allergy-safe candy and stuff, so just wanted to put that out there.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
that's really cool. Thank you, Amanda. Good job. I've never heard of that before, so that's really good information. Cool. I like that you said it makes the kids feel included, because dietary stuff really does, it divides us sometimes. It certainly did in Bible days. Speaking of food allergies, last week we had prayed for Ernie Thomas, and they're not here this morning. They were with us yesterday, but I thought he'd had I didn't feel like it was a heart attack, and I thought it was a food allergy, but then they said it was a heart attack, and I said, wow, it just does not seem right. Well, they retracted it and come to find out it was a food allergy. So now in the case with Fro's not here this morning, but this is what I felt about Fro coming in last week, because he had just had a stent put in his heart, like the day before. And I was just about to say, let's pray for Fro, and he comes walking in a suit and tie. And it reminded me, that story in the book of Acts where they all got together, they were praying for Peter to be released from prison, and he actually got released from prison. And he comes and knocks on the door, and Rhoda opens the door, and she thought she saw a ghost. It's like, that's the way I felt. I thought, you can't possibly be here. How's this possible? But anyway, Ernie's fine. He was there yesterday, and I'm sure Fro's good. And so anyway, but do keep, y'all know, Richard and Scott haven't been here in a little while because his dad has had Alzheimer's, and they've kind of been full-time with him. But his dad did transition day before yesterday. They usually sit right over there. They haven't been here in a while, but and he's good. I was trying to contact him Friday night because we went up the night before, because I saw it on Facebook, and he said, we're good. He said, you've already taught me how to deal with this, and my dad's fine now, and we were prepared for it. It was an easy transition. He said, go enjoy your vacation and post some more good pictures. So I said, all right. So anyway, and we're going again today. We have our annual fall trip to my friend Howie's cabin up in Blairsville, so we'll be going up this afternoon. I'm not trying to take full credit for this, but Howie's been a teacher for 30-something years, and he really had kind of hit the wall with it. And I spoke to him about it. I said, you need another career, and kind of spoke it into existence. And this whole travel career has taken off for him. He just got back from a week in Cuba. He's been to Iceland. He's been 2 European trips. I mean, all these that are totally paid for, so he's can write about it on his travel blog. So it took us a minute to figure out what time we could go up there in between him being in and out of the country. But, the thing is, what I was telling everybody yesterday, I get just as excited driving up, like you guys went to Tallulah Gorge last week. I love Tallulah Gorge. I especially in the fall in North Georgia, I'm just as excited going up there and drinking some apple cider as I am. As a matter of fact, in some ways, I like it better. As much as I love the big fancy trip somewhere, there's a lot of stuff you have to deal with, passports and all that kind of stuff. Just drive it. Like we went up to. I don't know if you have that picture of Ken sitting on the rock. A zillion. I've been to Lookout Mountain a zillion times, and every time I go, there's always places I didn't know were there. Yeah, it was awesome, but he said, I want to climb up here and take a picture. I said, dear God, you are freaking me out. I said, all right, go and crawl back. Crawl. Don't walk back. And there were these, what are they called, rappellers, and he's like hanging off the mountain, taking pictures of us. Sweet Jesus. Of course, Ginger accused Keith of trying to push her off Lookout Mountain yesterday. So that's in litigation right now. I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't see what happened. So It's in the realm of possibility. I don't know. I'm just happy he didn't succeed. But yeah, was that before or after the push? She's so. Now cue the chorus of "I Will Survive." But anyway, yeah, we walked down. It's called Sunset Rock, and it looks out over the west side of Lookout Mountain. Beautiful. You really kind of have to hike down to it, but I kind of have a love-hate relationship with heights. It's like they make me uncomfortable, but I really do love them. I love mountains. I love a beautiful view, and even think Denise and I were talking about yesterday. There's even like a spiritual aspect to coming up to a higher elevation, and especially I pretty much am stress-free now, but back in the stress days, I can remember where I would want to go. I used to climb Stone Mountain or whatever just to kind of put things in perspective, like to look down on the world, and it just kind of made everything not seem so huge or whatever. But yeah, we had a good time. But it's interesting how people's mentality is, because somebody posted, some friend of Ken's, like, I can't believe y'all go everywhere. I couldn't afford to go places like that. And I thought it's Chattanooga. I mean, it's like it's like an hour and a half. It's not like we're not talking like we're not in Paris. It's just like you might better get a bigger vision. It's just you drive up Chattanooga and back before sundown. But anyway, that was good. Of course, there was a minute where he'd gone around a rock and was taking pictures of the repellers coming down the other way. And I couldn't see him. I called his name about 4 or 5 times, and he didn't answer. And I know he's not a practical joker. Okay, I'm on need to hear somebody say something back. The first 2 or 3 times you go, kid? Hey, kid, seriously, really? And he said he was answering me back. I just couldn't hear. Okay. Don't ever let it happen again. But anyway, it was good, and I'm so glad you guys got to be a part of it, of going up there yesterday. Let's see. I told you Doug Wentz will be here next week, and the great thing about doing the In the Now this way, and I love doing this way. I love the ones we did with John Scott. I'd love to do one with Doc sometime. But there is. I love the ones that we shot with the table. Tony's been a part of that, several of you. But there is something about the immediacy of the crowd being here. I really love that energy. So please be here next Sunday. One thing I like about Doug's revelation, he talks about things that are very in the flow with me, but he kind of has a different, not an opposing viewpoint, but he holds the diamond up and picks up some facets that really kind of is not my paradigm, and I love that. If I just have somebody in that says the same thing I say, then it's, what's the point of that? So you will. I'm telling you, it will be worth it. Jonah, we have 5 Sundays in October, so Jonah will be with us one more time, so that's great. But you'll really like this where we do the. I'd like to at least get 3 shows out of it like we did before. So you're a part of that. Like when Wendy Williams calls her audience their co-host, that's why y'all are my co-host. How you doing? Sorry. That was from the Wendy Williams show, in case you didn't. All right. I have, first of all, I speak in the atmosphere, let there be light. Oh, one other thing, don't forget our Christmas party is December 30th, Tuesday, December 30th at Collinwall. Thank you, Michelle. 13th. And we vote on November 28th. Sorry, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. You should at least know the day you're supposed to vote. And if you haven't voted, and this is a nonpartisan thing, just whoever you're for, please vote. It's just the principle of it. I've already voted, and early voting is great to do because you miss all the long lines, and I know there's just a feeling of patriotic superiority when people are talking about voting. I've already done it. It just makes you feel even more American. So, all right, that's everything, right? All right, now I speak in the atmosphere. Let there be light. There are some themes that I'm continually attracted to. I want to. There's certain songs I want to go back and listen to. and I like listening to them. Like recently, I've been walking a lot outside, and I have these power beat ear things, where I can listen to earbuds, where I can listen to my iTunes songs on my phone. And the other day, I was listening to a song I've heard. I can't. There'd be no way to estimate how many times I've heard this song because it's from the '60s. But as I was listening to it, I wasn't listening to the lyrics as much as I was listening to. Wow, I never noticed that guitar part in there. I never heard that drum, and I love going back and re-examining something that and then finding there's more to it. There's certain movies I'll watch at least once a year that I've seen. There's no telling how many times I've seen them. So many times I can quote the whole script, but I like them, and every time I go back, there's sometimes I'll go see something like an old movie they show at the Fox Theater because there's things you see on the big screen that you didn't. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I went to see To Kill a Mockingbird at the Fox, and on the big screen I noticed so many things that I never even saw on DVD. So I love this idea of going back, especially if you have a taste for it. I remember, I'm a lot like my parents in so many ways, and in a lot of ways I'm so unlike them. Like going to New York is one of my favorite things to do. My parents would never go there. That would be like the last place in the world they would want to go. To them, they would just see thousands of people crowding everywhere, and that's their idea of hell. And I remember one time I was going to New York. My dad said, why are you going to New York? You've already been there. I said, Dad, that's like saying, why are you going to the beach? You've already been there. Or why are you going to the mountains? If there's something you like, it's not like you're just going there to look at it one time. You like being in that energy. You like being in that environment or whatever. I probably will always, go back there or go to places that I like. And that's certainly the case with not so much just verses of Scripture, but themes in Scripture. The writer of Hebrews said, let us give them more earnest heed to the things of which we have heard, lest we let them slip. And I don't hear that in a legalistic way. You tell me to read the Bible, you've lost me already. I'm like, I'm not into that. If there's a theme that the Scriptures support, especially when Spirit in me is saying, go back and look at that one more time. Go back and look at that again. I mean, you've talked about it so many times, but go back and look at it again. And those of you that hear my voice, and pretty much this is 100% now, you hear my voice. I have talked a lot about Genesis 1, 2, and 3 over the years. This isn't a new thing. That goes back in Church in the Now history. I've always believed that those first 3 chapters of the Bible were kind of the thesis of it all. A well-written paper, you have a thesis, and then the paper kind of expounds on what you say you want to state in the paper. A well-written paragraph, the opening sentence should kind of house what is the thought that's in the paragraph. And I feel that way about Genesis 1, 2, and 3. I think if you don't understand that whole thing, that none of the rest of it makes sense, to the point that I think all legalism came out of a misunderstanding of Genesis 1, 2, and 3. And frankly, and I don't mean this in any way to make me sound superior, I never hear anybody talk about it. I'm the only person I've ever heard teach specifically about God bringing the animals to Adam. I just think there's a huge key in that you have to see, why did he do that? There's some principle. This isn't about animals. This is about this concept of God saying, let us make people in our image, but let them have dominion. Let me tell you why this is important. I'm glad Jonah led some worship today. I don't want to ever completely lose touch with worship. There's something, it speaks to me on some deep level, but it's not all I want to do all the time, which was one of the reasons why we have this kind of setup where if somebody wants to do a secular song, I'm fine with that, because everything says something. And so I always will believe in a higher power. I want to have a higher power. I always want a Jesus take the wheel clause. Do you know what I mean? Like just I always need to know that that's in the contract. When David said, when my heart is overwhelmed, leave me to the rock that is higher than me. So I need that. I want that. Even though my definitions of God have evolved over the years, I'm very aware. What is it in Psalm 100? Know ye that the Lord, He is God. It is He that has made us and not we ourselves. So I get that. As a matter of fact, I was even reading the other day. I've been reading after this teacher, Kay Fairchild. We don't know each other. We know each other through Facebook, and she sent me some books the other day. And I'm not sure we're totally on the same page, but I'm very attracted to her revelation. And she posted something the other day about people that use the word co-creators, which I have used a lot. And she said, really, we don't really create anything. God created everything. And at first I thought, wait a minute, do I believe that? And then I read her entire piece, and I thought, okay, I see what you're saying. And it kind of made me go back and even re-examine Genesis 1, 2, and 3 again, and I'm glad that I did, because I feel like, and some of you I've already discussed it with this week, but I feel like it's one of the biggest keys I've ever been given in Revelation. I don't want to sound grandiose and overstating it, but I really think that on this nice little October Sunday in a little theater in Midtown, I'm about to say maybe the most important thing I've ever said. And that sounds really dramatic. You think, well, if it's the most important thing you ever said, it should be an auditorium filled. Let me tell you part of what Metron is and why those 4 people sitting back there in the back are so important. This is profoundly important that you come. I cannot do what I do without warm bodies and seats. But what we're doing big picture is Sunday by Sunday building a body of work, putting something that's on the World Wide Web, because the web is where it's at. I really believe when John said, he said, I saw a new heaven, a new earth, and he makes a point to saying there was no sea. What does that mean? The sea still exists, but in the ancient world, whatever was on the other side of the sea was non-existent, because you remember when even when Christopher Columbus came back from the Americas and said the world isn't flat, people still didn't believe it, because they believed that the sea was it. There was nothing beyond that. When they saw ships go over the horizon, they believed they disappeared. There are still people that believe the earth is flat. There's a whole website of people because the scripture says from the rising of the sun to the going down the same. Really? There's pictures of it from outer space. The Bible says it's flat. Wow. I wish the Bible writers would come back from the grave and go slap these people and go, how dare you put these words in my mouth and misinterpret me, because I said that 6,000 years ago without a microscope or a telescope or anyway. I have a lot to say today, so stay in focus, stay focused, stay focused. He says there's no sea. Well, now I can type letters into my smartphone, and somebody on the other side of the planet can read it nearly as I'm typing it. What? So technically, in that sense, there's no sea anymore. There was a time, even a lot of you that travel a lot for your business, if you'll notice, people are traveling less and less because it's not necessary. Now you can have, you can do webinars. I think, isn't Judah doing a webinar with a guy in California today, I believe? The guy... Because I asked him, I said, are you flying out to California? He said, no, we're doing a webinar. They're doing a video thing together. So there is no sea. And we're a part of that now. We're building, honestly, I believe what we do with YouTube, and in 2 years, we've had to tweak it, and it's still, it's a challenge. It's the best it's ever been, but it's a challenge to light in here. It just is. It's a challenge to get sound, especially because we set up and tear down every day. So, with what we have to work with, we do amazingly well. But this is really important. This is what we're doing now is actually more important. There was a time you had to go to the bookstore at Church of the Now and buy my CDs, or my DVDs, and then you'd end up having drawers full of them, and you'd end up not watching them. And before that, it was cassette tapes. And at the time, we were in the now at that time. That was as cutting edge as you could be. Now, the younger generation, they're not even watching TV anymore. They watch Netflix. They watch, if there's a TV series that's on, they'll block some time off and binge watch an entire season. The day of waiting for it to come on, it's over. Now you don't even have to DVR things. You just go, watch them whenever, because that is the wave of the future. And so we're already on the arc of that, that we're Sunday by Sunday saying stuff that I know has not been said before. We are tapping into those things that Jesus said during those 40 days. If anybody ever wants to say, what did Jesus say from the resurrection to the ascension, those 40 days, you can say, well, I tell you one place you can find it, YouTube/Bish in the Now. And so we're doing that. So you're helping me do that. Because you're in agreement with me, you pull things out of me, and I'm not teaching you. We're helping each other discover this. And even to the point, there was a time I didn't want to tell somebody I was going to teach on Sunday because I wanted to save it. Now I feel just the opposite. Now I think, no, go ahead and put it out there. I talked to Avery about it on Thursday. I talked to Jack and Jackie about it on Friday. I talked about Ken all week. Even yesterday, before we dispersed on Lookout Mountain, everybody got together. I said, let me kind of tell you what I'm teaching on tomorrow, because I believe you should put it out there in the atmosphere, and it starts having a snowball effect, and it gets better and better and better. The more you see it, the more you taste and see the Lord is good, the more you want. So I'm about to give you something delicious. You thought that fried chicken was good yesterday? Aunt B wishes she could fry up something as good as what I'm about to give you. So let's try to hear it like you haven't heard it before. Show me this first verse of Scripture. And this is... there's our title, Recognizing the Keys of Your Kingdom, Unlocking Your True Self and Living the Liberated Life. And I'll tie that in just a moment. But this is Genesis 2:19, and this is in The Voice. Genesis 2:19, The Voice is not the TV show, but this is a Bible translation. Genesis 2:19 is God bringing the animals to Adam to see what he would name them. Back to this thing, what I was telling you about what Kay Fairchild said. I thought, okay, then I want to agree with you on this. This is what I believe. God created everything. And even quantum physics will tell you that everything that you ever need, it already exists. And, I've been teaching this for years. Jesus didn't create wine. He turned water into wine. So you could definitely make the case that everything that is here has always been here. It's that matter and energy, they change forms, whatever, but nothing ever goes away. Everything is everything. Everything is connected. That's why people who are out from under the legalistic Mosaic law, they can pick up this stuff, whether you call it New Age or whatever. They pick up all this revelation when they say, a part of you is in me, a part of me is in you. Everything is connected. Yes, it is. Everything is everything. Everything is a part of everything. So look at this. This is how The Voice says it. So out of the same ground the man was made from, the eternal God sculpted every sort of animal and every kind of bird that flies up in the sky. All right, so that's God creates it all. But remember, just a few verses before this, he says, let us make people in our image, but they're going to run it. Not, I am the eternal God and I will tell them what to do. No, he says, basically, he's saying, let's see what they do with it. Let's give them all the raw materials and see what they do with it. Now, let me tell you why this is important. You got so many people out there going, well, I know God's up to something. God's doing something. I don't know what God's doing, but it's going to be good when he do. Won't he do it? I mean, that's great. And I'm not totally abandoning that model, but I'm saying if that's all you think, if your pendulum is swung that far, you'll never make a decision. You'll always be irresolute. When things don't go well in your life, you'll think you've chosen the wrong thing. And when you really go back and look, God's saying things like, decree a thing and it'll be established unto you. Even, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let me just tell you what I'm going to tell you in a minute. I'm not saying Jesus never performed a miracle, because he obviously did. But if you go back and read the Gospels, he didn't perform miracles as much as he was showing people that the miracle was in them. And that's why he was, at least there was always human interaction with it. It was always something like, as your faith is, so be it unto you. Take up your bed and walk. Stretch forth your hand. If you believe, all things are possible. So it wasn't like he was saying, y'all just put it in autopilot and I'm going to do it all. He said, no, let me show you that you can do this. Even, and I know I haven't finished this verse yet, but let me just say, go back and think about the things that Jesus would kind of nearly off the cuff say. Like, remember when he's reading he's preaching to the multitudes, and the disciples come and they say, the people don't have anything to eat. What does he say to them? Does he say, I got this? He says, well, go feed them. And they're looking at him like, what do you mean we don't have enough food? Jesus doesn't think that way. He's like, well, just feed them. He says, what do you have? What do you have? Look, anytime anybody in your life says that they got everything, they're gonna fix everything, that's not true. It's not supposed to be true. The best anything anybody's ever going to do for you is inspire you to see what you can already do. So Jesus is walking on water one day. What's he doing? Is he showing off to the disciples? A little bit. Because Peter looks at him and says, well, if that's you, tell me to come out there. And he says, okay. And if you get this key, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Even to him saying, you think this is great. He said, you're going to even do greater stuff than this. I'm just showing you. And now if you need to wake me up, I'll rebuke the winds and the rains, oh, you have little faith. But y'all could have done this. And really the deeper level is, it doesn't even matter that there's a storm. I said, let's go to the other side of the lake, so we're going to the other side of the lake. You're still living in a level of consciousness where you think a storm stops you. But a storm has nothing to do with whether you can walk on water. Because in the natural, you can't walk on water in calm weather. So the storm's immaterial. All right. So he says, then he brought them to the man and gave him the authority to name each creature as he saw fit. Let me say it to you this way. You will never become a manifested son of God as long as you keep second-guessing your choices. What if God had brought the animals to Adam? Adam, what do you want to call these? Well, Lord, I'm going to pray and fast for 40 days and 40 nights. And let me get back to you because I don't want to call this wrong. Oh, Lord, don't let me take your glory, Lord. Don't let me take your glory. I don't want to get people's eyes off you, thinking that I can name these animals. I just want to be in his will. I just want to be in the Lord's will. I must decrease that he might increase. Now, did Adam create the animals? No. Did he decide what they would be? Apparently. To name each creature as he saw fit. And whatever he decided to call it, that became its name. Now, if you think I'm talking about turtles and giraffes and bears and lions, you are missing the point, because this is not about animals. This is a teachable moment where God is showing Adam how to be God on the earth. That's what this is. This is not. If you think this is about Adam naming animals, then you would think Jesus giving parables is about agriculture. Or you think, when I'm being funny, I'm just telling a joke. People don't realize the kind of ministry I do, I'm plowing up so much stuff from your upbringing that if I don't make you laugh once in a while, you couldn't bear it. It's too much personal responsibility to put on people. You got to be grown. I started to say grown ass, but that would be inappropriate. You got to be grown people to drive into this theater and let me tell you, like, sorry, baby, you don't get to blame this one on the devil. Sorry. That was you. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm trying to set you free from the need to blame something else. You can own your life. You can own your decisions. And until you get your arms around the divinity that God has put in you, you're going to always think it's something out there that's working. You're going to believe in conspiracy theories. You're going to believe that some plots going on against you when it's not at all. And it's just the choices of your decisions. To name each creature as he saw fit, whatever he decided to call it, that became its name. This is not about, that's a giraffe, that's a kangaroo. This is about God created you, God made everything. Now he says, I've given you life. What will you call it? Under your authority. Think about, I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing, therefore choose life. He didn't say, I set before you life and the devil set before you death. He says, no, this is all out here. In Isaiah, he says, I create good, I create evil. It's all, I've created everything. I've even created the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The other day, Wellington asked me, he said, tell me again, why did the serpent say that to Adam, to Eve? You know, God knows if you eat this, you'll become like him. I said, because she should have said, we already are like God. What are you talking about? He made us in his image. That's not, what are you talking about? We already had this authority. We already had this ability. Is God trying to play mind games with them? No, he's trying to get them to show, he's trying to show them what he made them to be. So, if in this world it was all about animals, so if however Adam saw fit to call it, that's what God called it. God didn't argue with Adam. It's not like Adam said, all right, I call that a lion. And God's going, seriously, a lion? Adam. Don't you know that's an ostrich? No, it's I know I'm belaboring this point, but you have to get this. It's like God's waiting to find out what the will of God is. Because he doesn't make it up. He gives it to Adam. That's humanism. A little bit. It kind of is. I'm not sure humanism's as evil as the evangelical said that it was. I think the human being is the finest of God's creation. All right, let me show you the same verse of Scripture. This is in the concordant literal version. Look at this. And furthermore, Yahweh Elohim, having formed from the ground all field life and every flyer of the heavens, he is also, and I love because the concordance always in present tense, he is also bringing it to the human to see what he will call it. What, a tiger? No, a circumstance, a life. Let me say it to you this way. I have decided that there will never be a curse in my life. Now you can say, well, how can you say that? Because I have called everything in my life a blessing. So that even if you try to curse me, your curse is going to hit my blessing force field because I call it a blessing. And I say, you meant it free. Think about Joseph. His brothers tried to murder him, sold him into slavery, told their daddy that he was dead. He basically grew up in prison under a false rape charge in a country that he didn't speak the language. And what does Joseph say when his brothers, he says, Genesis 50:20, you meant it for evil, but God used it for good. He said, you tried to curse me. I called it a blessing a long time ago. And everything, not just the good and the bad, I don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Everything that happens to me eventually will be a blessing. And if it doesn't look like a blessing yet, it's just not finished yet. And you can call it an ostrich all day long. I called it a kangaroo. And it's never going to be an ostrich to me. It's always going to be a kangaroo. And I know that my God, or Hebrews calls it Jesus, the high priest of our confession. My God looks over everything that I say, everything that I see. It's so powerful, and Lord knows we've made her sing it so many times, but when Chandra sings that thing from Lion King, and it says, he watches over everything we see. So basically, God says, I create you. Now let me see. What are you going to become? What are you going to do? Are you going to reflect back to me? So, whatever the human, look, And whatever the human living soul is calling it, that is its name. I will go out on a limb to say I will never have a bad day for the rest of my life. Now, I'm not saying that I don't believe in being out of touch with reality. If somebody's really suffering, you just need to put your arm around them and love them and not try to, Proverbs says, he who sings songs to him who is of a heavy heart is like one who takes away a coat in winter. So I don't like, as much as I'm all about happiness, whatever, there's a time to weep with people. There's a time. Beth lost 2 sisters this year. How do I make her feel better about that? I just talked to her and said, God, that's rough. That's about as bad as it gets. And you will get through it. And she has gotten through it. And God will grace you. And God has graced her. But for me to go, oh, that's not, no, it's kind of a big deal when you've got to not only take care of all their financial stuff, you literally got to go clean out their apartments and figure out what to do with their stuff. Yeah, guess what? Pardon my French, but that sucks. And I don't believe in being, so happy like this. Do you know what I mean? That, people are like, God, could you just feel for me for a minute? I'm all about the empathy and the compassion. And if you're having a bad day, I don't even try to talk you out of your bad day. I don't even tell you what to feel anymore. Here's a thought. Sometimes you need to feel a little sadness. It's okay. I went to my high school reunion weekend before, and they read a list of the names of people who have. I did a picture of a girl that had candles lit in honor of the people. Now, it's been 40 years, but I was amazed at the people who had died. I mean, she read a list of people that I probably haven't thought of since the 70s, but I'm like, oh my God, he died. So at our table, we're like, how did they die? I mean, it sounded like people were dropping like flies. And for a minute, I kind of felt not depressed, but a little wistful about the passing of time and whatever. And I thought, you know what? This is an appropriate feeling. This is an appropriate feeling to see these people and to, appreciate whatever role they played in my life, but also realize that, wow, we're knocking on 60 door, we're all in this age group. And now, that doesn't mean I had a bad day. It means I felt some emotions that I think are appropriate. I don't like when you go to somebody's funeral and the preacher's out there, don't cry, they're in a better place. No, if that's your mama that died, what's wrong with you that you don't cry? Doesn't mean you don't believe she's in a better place. Doesn't mean you're not relieved that she's not suffering anymore. It just means like, yeah, I was married to that person for 45 years and they died. This hurts, and a part of me will probably hurt a little bit about it every day, and I can live with that, and I still have a good life, and I can still laugh or whatever, but yeah, there's a little part of me that's going to hurt a little bit when I think about it, and that's fine. Y'all still with me? That has nothing to do with dominion, but we've got to become more sophisticated in the way we understand emotions. I'm always okay. I always have a good day. My life always ends up okay. I will always have people who love me. I will always have people who give to me. I will always have people who care about what I say. I will always have a following. I will always be a pastor. I promise you, if every one of y'all stood up and walked out and said today, we're never listening to you again, I would go out in that parking lot and start talking, and at least 4 or 5 people would gather around me and start listening to what I'm saying. I promise you it would happen. And somebody would say, well, we ought to do this again sometime. And without me even trying, I wouldn't call it a church or whatever, I'd already have some following. I got that a long time ago. I will always, if I want to do something, the money will be there for it. I don't even struggle with those things anymore. I don't wrestle with them or whatever. So does that mean that there's not going to be traffic jams or things that happen? Of course things are going to happen. But I've called everything in my life a blessing. The scripture says Satan entered into Judas. Judas goes to betray Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, Satan, you come out of him in my name. No, He says, okay, whatever you're going to do, do it. Because it was a blessing. You ought to sit down and write a thank you note to every one of your enemies. Thank you. You have made me the person that I am today. You walk in tomorrow and they say, thank you for 30 years of working in this company, but we've downsized. Please clean out your desk. You need to say, thank you for releasing me from this dead-end job so I can now go out and embrace my destiny. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. My God, I love you people. If y'all hadn't fired me, I'd have sat at this desk and rot to death. But now I am set free, and who knows what potential I am going to explore. The hidden rooms that are in my heart that I don't even know at this point are in there. But because I got to make a living and I got to get some insurance, you have forced me into looking for alternatives. And this is the best thing that ever happened. I'm not talking about becoming some arrogant jerk that never admits they're wrong. That's not what I'm talking about. Even Jesus seemed to have this nearly, like he would talk good about himself, like before Abraham was, I am. But he would also say, why do you call me good? There's none good but God. He definitely had a balance about himself. Somebody says to me, sometimes it sounds like you brag too much about your life. Possibly. It's possible. Touche. I might. Why do you do that? I don't know. I just like talking about it. I just like taking pictures of it. Well, I don't think you should take so many pictures and post about your wonderful life. Okay, I'm probably going to post like 10 times that much now because I'm not trying to be a jerk, and if you don't like it, unfriend me, but I just like to live my life publicly, and I really, really, really love my life. So I'm probably going to take lots of pictures. If you don't like it, you don't have to look at it. I'm probably going to talk about it. Because there's always somebody that wants you to scale down. I remember when Ken and I first got together, I was living in Covington, then I was living downtown. He lives in Eatonton, Georgia. So we would meet to eat. And a lot of times I would check in, like we're at Applebee's or whatever. And you can't believe the people that would go, dear God, do y'all ever eat at home? And I think, okay, first of all, we don't have a home. We live an hour and a half away from each other. Secondly, why do you care? I wanted to say, pardon me for being sarcastic, but would you like to give me a schedule of how many times a week you think is appropriate for me to check in? I like to check in because my phone is ringing and buzzing constantly with text, and it's my way of saying, I'm at dinner right now. If it can wait, I'll get back with you as soon as possible, but we're in a movie or whatever. But there's also a little bit of showing off. Especially if I like it, if I really enjoy it, I want other people to know, y'all should know how good this food is. And I show no signs of even reining that in. It seems to get, when my kids are together, I'm just like, I'm going to take a picture of y'all. You might as well know it. You might as well have a good attitude. Somebody said, several people say, you just bragging about your kids. Duh, you think? Say what? If you're not proud of your kids, how are you even like God? God says, this is my beloved son whom I'm well pleased. Of course you show him off. What's that about? All right. Let me show you this. This is Colossians 1:21, and this is in the New King James. And you who once were alienated enemies in your mind, yet now he is reconciled. Let me tell you where I'm going with this verse. Let me show it to you again from the Concordant Literal Version. And you being once estranged and enemies in comprehension, yet now he reconciles. I refer to this a lot. This is where Paul says you were alienated from God in your minds. All right, Bishop, what's that got to do with Adam naming the animals? Where are we going with this? All right. Think about this. Genesis chapter 2. God brings the animals to Adam to see, to find out, to learn of what he is going to call them. And whatever God calls them, and I loved when the Concordant uses the word it. Whatever the man called it, God called it. Meaning, circumstances, things in your life, everything has a name, and the name will be translated blessing. Everything will bless me. You just try this experiment. When you're riding your car, when you leave here today, just say it out of your mouth. Everything that happens in my life will bless me. Everything will be a blessing. Even if it looks like a curse, it will be turned into a blessing. All things will work together. And in the working together, there might be some chaos, but ultimately, when the dust settles, all things will work together for my good. Everything will bless me. Everyone will bless me. And you can't even get out of my life until you bless me. If you say, I'm never going to speak to you again, like, all right, well, don't forget to leave the blessing on your way out. Because I have called everything and everyone a blessing. So everything and everyone in my life blesses me. Everything that happens blesses me. I am blessed when I come in. I am blessed when I go out. I am blessed in the city. I am blessed in the country. I am blessed in the basket. I am blessed in the store. Blessed is the fruit of my body. My enemies come up before me one way and flee before me seven. The Lord makes me the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. I am blessed in everything that I do. In me shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, as they were with Abraham. I not only am blessed, I am a blessing. I am blessed to be a blessing. So my very life blesses people. The world is better. My birth blessed the earth. The earth is better because I was born. You are better for having known me. I'm better for having known you. You are a blessing in my life. Everybody, I don't see people here. I see blessings. Every one of you is a blessing. What's this got to do with alienating from God in your minds? All right. Chapter 2. God brings the animals to Adam to see what he will call them. Chapter 3. Adam eats from the tree that he was told not to eat from. He realizes he's naked. Chapter 3. God comes to the garden. Adam, not naked Adam, not fallen Adam, not disobedient Adam, just Adam, where are you? This is our designated time where I physically come down and walk with you in the cool of the day. Nothing has changed. I am the all-seeing, all-knowing, omniscient, omnipresent God who told you not to eat from the tree and saw that you did. It hasn't changed anything. Adam, where are you? Adam says, I hid from you because I was naked and I was afraid. God says, seriously? Now, because I gave you the authority, whatever you name on the earth, I will have to call it. If you called a lion, I had to call it a lion. If you call yourself naked, I'm going to have to call you naked. If you called a kangaroo, I had to call it a kangaroo. If you call yourself afraid, I'm going to have to call you afraid. This was not the plan. It wasn't like Adam took a bite and then suddenly goes, oh my God. Or God goes, like lightning from heaven. Listen, Adam and Eve were not expelled from the garden because they ate. They were expelled from the garden because they said they were naked. And Adam says, well, who told you were naked? Who told you that's a kangaroo? Who told you that's a leopard? And now, because you say this, because you say you're naked, because you say you're afraid, you've pulled me into your reality. So, and he says, I'll send a redeemer that'll bruise the serpent's head, but this was not plan A. So with the same authority, I created you, but you called an animal an animal. I called it that. You called yourself fallen. I don't see you as fallen, but that's how you see yourself, and I watch over everything you see. And however you see yourself, I mean, I can do only so much. I mean, don't you see even in his, just in his pushback of saying, who told you were naked? It's not like he said, that's right, you certainly are. He just said, well, who told you that? Because now that you've said that, that will become the reality. And I've kind of been teaching around this. Remember when I taught one of my most famous sermons was The Tale of Two Trees, where I brought up the two trees. And I said, God sees the earth as redeemed already because he sees the earth through the eyes of Jesus on the cross and the resurrection. And Jesus says in John 12, now the God of this world is cast down. I'm telling you, all this spiritual warfare that people think's going on, it's stuff they're making up in their mind. According to Jesus, he says that's already done. Now the God of this world's already cast down. I saw Satan fall like lightning out of heaven. Now, if you want to create, even something simple as Will had to work today, he's not here, but said yesterday, he said that a family member called him and wanted to see him about something, and he said, I've said to myself, I don't want to deal with him today. I wish I didn't have to see him. And all this stuff ends up happening at work that was much worse than would have been, not worse, but stuff that he couldn't leave work. He had to work late. And he said, I realized I created the reason not to see, I don't want to say his brother because his brother might be watching. I don't want to get him in trouble. But he said, I just didn't want to have to deal with family drama. So I said, I don't want to deal with it. And he said, I created a way not to have to deal with it. And he said, actually, the family drama would have been better than what I had to deal with at work. Look, there's a lot of chaos that we all have created in our own lives just because we didn't want to deal with certain things. And we don't even, if we know it, we don't want to know that we kind of have come up with our own reason not to do whatever. Because it's our own creation. Because apparently, whatever we call something is what God calls it. When I used to do a lot of street ministry, a lot of evangelical ministry, we were big on what they called the Roman road. You'd always take people down the Romans 3:23, Romans 6:23, get people to admit their sinner, and then the payoff was Romans 10:9 and 10. You must believe in your heart God raised Jesus from the dead, confess with your mouth that He's Lord. I have had thousands of people pray a prayer with me over that verse of Scripture, and no regrets. That was where I was at the time. But I've been thinking about this week, like, wow, with the heart, man believes unto righteousness. And with the mouth, confession is made into salvation. That is, confession made into salvation, I don't believe. I did it one time. I don't believe now it means going to an altar and saying that you're saved or born again. I believe it's happening every minute of your life. Your life is continually being saved by the words of your mouth. And the level of, and really the word righteousness just means rightness. The level of rightness that is in your life is in direct relation to what you believe in your heart about yourself. Let me show you this verse. This is also Colossians 1:21 in the Jonathan Mitchell. Let me show you this. It's very wordy, but just stay with me. He says, and so you, being at once time people, having been alienated away or being estranged or being rendered as belonging to another, having been put out of the family and enemies or hated ones, by the divided thoughts in the dualistic perceptions. What does dualistic make you think of? Tree of the knowledge of good and evil. By the dualistic perceptions and things going through the mind in every direction, yet now he had once reconciled or changed or transferred to a different state. Please tell me you see the connection between these verses. Adam is fallen because he believes he's fallen. He's naked because he believes he's naked. God calls him fallen and naked because he called himself that. And now Paul comes along and he says, all of your ideas about God not approving you of whatever, you're fabricating that. That's not coming from God. It never did. Woman, where are your accusers? I don't have any. Well, then you're good to go. Like I'm not accusing you for adultery. Now I will tell you this, go and sin no more, because if you do this again, these Moses guys are going to come out and want to stone you with stones. But it's not coming from me. Bishop, are you saying God doesn't care about our sex life? Pretty much. did you hear that? Bishop just said we go out and have sex with everybody. Sex, sex, sex. That's not what I said. You do that, you're asking for some stuff. And I'm not even talking about like STDs and stuff like that. I'm just saying that may not even be the way you want to live, but it has nothing to do with God. Like Paul said, all things are lawful, but not all things are a good idea. But it has nothing to do with God. We have all this idea that, well, God won't bless me if I do such and such. I could, starting with the Bible, give you a list of people who have been clearly blessed who did all kind of things that would shock you. Well, how are they blessed? They should be under a curse because it doesn't work. God doesn't curse people. People curse people. God doesn't curse you. You curse you. The devil doesn't fight you. You fight you. Well, isn't the devil the accuser of the brethren? Hang on. Let me show you. This is 1 John 3:19 through 21 in the Amplified. By this we will know without any doubt that we are of the truth, and will assure our heart and quiet our conscience before him whenever our heart convicts us in guilt, because we always did and said the right thing. No. He says, for God is greater than our heart, and he knows all things. Nothing is hidden from him because we are in his hands. Beloved, if our heart does not convict us of guilt, well, if it wasn't the devil accusing me, it was the conviction of the Holy Spirit. Any of you that grew up in Pentecostalism like I did, we had this whole thing fabricated about what we called conviction. Oh, I'm under conviction. Look, if you feel strongly about changing something in your life, that just may be a good idea. It's not the Holy Spirit nagging you about some sin. That's not the way he works. Are y'all ready for this? Because he says it's our heart that condemns us, not some accuser, not even the Holy Spirit. It's what's been programmed into us. Now, before I read the rest of the verse, let me explain some things to you. There's not one woman in this place that I can see that has a hat on their head. Is there a female that is wearing a hat? All right. Do you know that from the scriptures there are some churches, and I'm talking everywhere from Roman Catholic to old school Pentecostal, you would not be allowed to come into that church without your head covered because the Bible says you're supposed to do it. Paul said you're supposed to do it. I have been, not so much now, but when I first came out, anytime I got a message from prophetess so-and-so, I thought, here it comes. Because those prophetesses were the most homophobic people I've ever met, and they would want to tell me what Paul said. Those prophetesses knew Paul. And I want to say, Paul said, you're supposed to shut up. Paul says, you're not even supposed to be speaking to me. First of all, you're supposed to have your head covered, prophetess. That means you're not in subjection to men, which, if you really want to play Paul with me, baby, I will give you some Paul. I will Paul you out until you can't ever see the light of day. Don't you throw something taken out of context with me because you don't like gay people. I will, if you want to go with misogyny, Paul is your guy. Paul loved gay people compared to how much he loved women. So if you want to go with the woman question, first of all, don't even talk to me till you get a hat on that Jezebel head of yours. Don't you talk to me. If we want to go Paul, if we want to call Pauline, bring it on, sister. Bring it on. Because I can quote it to you in 5 or 6 translations. I'll have your head spinning. And if we don't play the gender card, I'm older than you. If you want to play Paul, Paul said, rebuke not an elder. Why are you even talking to me? You ought to respect me for no other reason than I've been in the ministry longer than you've been alive. You need to shut up. And I can give you chapter and verse for that. I suffer not a woman to teach. Do you know how many women have been shut up by the Bible? You nasty women. I'm telling you, the Bible is patriarchal. It was written by men to men. It just was. And if you don't understand that, how to rightly divide. Let me explain to you how to rightly divide, and just be very careful with how you answer this. And it's okay. I'm not going to be mad at you, whatever you say. How many of you have listened to me for any length of time that you heard something that I said that you either didn't understand, disagreed with, or disliked? Just raise your hand. It's okay. All right. How many of you have heard God speak through me? All right. Then that means you have the ability to discern. You are not required. Nobody meets you at the door and says, would you please sign this statement? I am in full agreement with everything. I don't even want you to be in full agreement with everything unless you have revelation on it. If you have to get it by coercion, that's not agreement. There's nothing in me that wants to be a control freak. I'm so much about liberty that people misunderstand it. Like sometimes, that's why it used to be laughable to me when people would call me a cult leader. I think, you don't even know. I might have a cult type following of people who just love me unconditionally, but cults don't let you go. Cults, they harass you. They follow you to your house. They own your life. I don't even know where you live. I don't know who gives. I don't know. I mean, you got to pull it out of me to even say I missed you last Sunday. And some people, they don't understand that. It's because I want you to be here because you want to be. Listen, I can't tell you the times in the course of a week when I will get a message from somebody who I've not seen. I got one this week. Somebody has not said in my ministry since the mid-'90s who said, I've never been to a church past yours. Even the people who don't go to Metron, Church of the Now kind of was the end of the rainbow for them. It's like, well, I'm not going anywhere now. I'm like, well, I don't know if that's good. But anyway, maybe it is. But there are, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of people who, they wouldn't know what Metron is, but they still consider me their pastor. This has been going on for years. I mean, back when Judah was a teenager, he was dating some girl from Columbus who said, oh yeah, her aunt goes to Church of the Now. I said, who is it? I couldn't figure out who he's talking about. So the aunt brings the girl over to our house when I opened the door. Somebody hadn't been to church in a decade. I said, oh, hey, that's who he's talking about? I said, I just would have never thought I'm your pastor. She said, well, I never went to church anywhere after you. I said, you're still my pastor? You're going to preach my funeral? I'm like, okay. And I can't tell you the times, as recently as last week, and some of you streaming were the ones that wrote me, that I'll read, you're my spiritual father, you're my spiritual father. And nobody ever says you're a good preacher. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say I'm a good preacher. I hear people say, you saved my life, you saved my family. It's always very dramatic, like you changed the way I think about God. You change. I mean, I'm not sure I've ever been complimented on a sermon, which is fine. I don't aspire to be a great preacher. I aspire to change the world. There's been I came from a long line of preachers. Preachers just talking all the time. You got something to say. I'm not discrediting my family. I'm just saying, to me, it's about the message. And I can't tell you the times that I have nearly sat down 4 times last week to say, I just want to say, all of y'all who call me your spiritual father, none of whom come to Metron, none of whom support financially or anything, but I'm your pastor, by God. If y'all would just all show up on one Sunday, just make one little drive to Midtown, I couldn't seat you in this little theater. And every time I'm like, don't do it. I'm not posting it. My finger has hovered over send. Like, ugh. My ego needs to say this. Stop telling me I'm your pastor if you're not a part of what I'm doing. But I'm like, no. Because whatever I call this post, that's going to become my reality. And it's going to collapse into this thing that I'm this needy guy that just needs butts and seats. And I am not that guy. I refuse to be that guy. If everything in my ego is going, please be that guy, please be that guy. I'm like, hell no, ego. I'm not going to be that guy. I am me. I'm the guy that God created to be. And for me to make that stupid, whiny, little petty post is going to cause me to, it's going to cause God to call me something that I don't even want to call myself. So, I don't send it. More pictures on pretty mountains. That's one reason. Another reason there's so many pictures is so I don't post all the stuff I want to say. Because several times this week, when I scroll down the news feed on Facebook, I'm like, how am I even friends with sweet Jesus? That's what you think about the world and about America, whatever. How are we even? How are we even friends? I'm like, you know what? Don't do it. Pictures, put pretty pictures. Climb up on that high rock, kid. Pretty pictures of our beautiful life. But it's a bigger concept than that. You understand what I'm saying? So here he says, if our heart does not condemn us, then we have confidence before God. I pray, and I'm not totally here yet either, which is why I can have compassion, because I know we're all on this journey. But there's got to come a time in all of our lives where we just know we're good with each other. And believe me, I know what it's like when somebody doesn't come Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I can't help but think, is there something wrong? Did I say something or whatever? And a lot of times I don't want to follow up on it because I just don't want to hear it. I've been spanked a lot. I don't really want another spanking. So I'm just like, well, I hope, maybe it was seasonal. And then I'll contact somebody. They're like, no, everything's fine with us. We've just been, So you could have this whole thing in your mind that you're not righteous with somebody, and you are. We've got to all finally get to that place. A couple times, I don't know, I'm not saying apologies aren't necessary, but a couple times, just because Avery wants to do such a great job, she'll say, I don't like the way I handled that or whatever, and I say, let it be entered into the record that you said. First of all, I didn't even notice it. Secondly, by now, we ought to be post-apology. Do you know? And that's scary territory, because I'm not saying I can do whatever I want to. You better like it. No, that's not what I'm saying. And we can't lose sensitivity to each other. I mean, we were riding up to Chattanooga Friday, and I hope this doesn't sound too corny, but I was listening to, just going through songs, and there was a song, Willie Nelson was doing this song, I Love You to the Moon and Back, and Dolly Parton does a verse on it. It was really pretty, and I was playing it and trying to decide if I wanted to. I didn't even realize I had these Amazon music that I'd already paid for. I'd forgot. So all you have to do is, add it to your playlist, and so I'm going through adding some stuff, and we're listening. So that's kind of a pretty song. I'm not a big country fan, but I do love Dolly Parton, and I'm listening to that. It's a pretty song. And I asked him, he was driving, I said, is that how much you love me? Do you love me to the moon and back? Well, he's so sensitive. I see tears. He said, I sure did. I mean, he really took it seriously. But there's all of a part of us. We always want to know. Even Jesus, you think about it, after the resurrection, he comes to Peter, and he doesn't say a thing about heaven, doesn't say a thing about the kingdom. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you do it again. He comes to Peter, and he says, I need to know, do you love me? Does this, whatever we had during this time, was this real? And he asks him 3 times, So at the end of the day, relationships are the most important things in your life. But we should also be coming to a place. I remember, I won't say who this was, but it was somebody years ago they're not a part of Metron, but it's always a part of my life. And somebody that was going to be on the board, but they were going through something that could have been ended up not being a legal problem, but it could have been. And this person said to me, I don't want to be elected to the board because I don't know if this thing goes down, I could possibly have some legal trouble. I could even go to jail. To which I said, well, you know what? If you go to jail, I have a prison ministry. And this person said, are you serious? I said, yes, I'm serious. We're in that kind of, you think that would disqualify, after all we've been through with each other, that would disqualify you from my life? Absolutely not. A lot of good people have been in jail. Paul, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, however many years. Who did you say? Joseph. Oh, Joseph, yeah. I thought you said, yes, Joseph. All right. But isn't this amazing? He says the condemnation doesn't come from God. If you ever thought, and we all have, and I'm not singling anybody out, you hear me? Because I've done it too. But we've all done the thing where you thought something was wrong between you and somebody, and I do it too. Like, remember the other day I asked about Eddie. I said, "Are we okay?" And he said, "It breaks my heart you would even ask that." I said, "Well, I know, but you're like never here." And I've had lots of people not like me over the years, so you can't help but think, "Crap, what have I done now? What have I said now?" That's why I asked for a show of hands. Of course, there's a lot of y'all raised hands. How many of you have I said? All right, you have to raise it with quite that much vigor. You could have said, "Yeah." Yes, you are correct. You are correct. But that means discernment. Any of you that have had any kind of church experience, whether it was church splits or people leaving, whatever, you could see so much of Christian church is built on such a farce. There's no other institution where people break fellowship and never speak to each other again like with church. More than anything else. People out in the world will drink. They'll beat the crap out of each other and be drinking the next night. Go, "Man, I love you, man. I didn't mean nothing by it." Not church people, buddy. You say one thing they disagree with, you're never going to hear from them again. That's why it's so much of it, Paul was sophisticated enough to call it wood, hay, and stubble that it's built on. I call it something else. And if you want to meet me in private, I'll be happy to tell you what the majority of it is built on. But it's squishy and it stinks when you step in it. And that's what a whole bunch of the churches, it just is. Because just the fragility of covenant relationships exposes it for the farce that it is. Exactly. It's all about control. And the very fact that God says whatever you call it, even, and I'm not trying to put words in God's mouth, but even if I don't like what you call it, then I'll call it that. I've probably got a couple people right now that are mad at me for different reasons that I think are bogus. And I'm not mad at them back. I've done what I can to try to fix it. But at a certain point, I have to say, well, if that's what you call our relationship, then I guess I'll have to call it that. You have the power to change this. One little text could be like, we're good. Fine, we're good. I'll never mention it again. But as long as this is the reality you are perceiving, then I have no choice but to namaste, respect if that's what you think. But this isn't coming from me. You think if your heart is condemning you with me, it's not coming from me. This is coming from something you're thinking about. I can't. One thing about me, once we've resolved an issue, I won't bring it up again. I'm not one of those people that once we've buried it, it's done as far as I'm concerned. And if you're still trying to pull me into some drama that is unresolved, that's your creation. Because in my mind, we're good. Well, don't you know I said so and so? Do you know how many people I've had come on my stage and minister over the years that said horrible stuff about me, but they made it right? We went to the after the Orlando shooting, there was a prayer vigil they did at the human rights thing, and Ken and I went out there, and that one felt different from me, as I'm sure the shooting at Mother Emanuel Church felt different for African Americans. When you feel like this isn't just random terrorism, this is a people group being targeted, and so you just feel that. And I don't go to a lot of gay things or whatever, but I felt that, and I'm looking around at thousands of LGBT people, and it was very emotional. They read the names of all the. It was just about all guys that were shot, and they were they were younger than Jonah, and I'm here with every name. I'm just like, God Almighty. And then there's an out pastor here in the community that when I first came out wrote a scathing article about me. He said, I can't believe this guy's getting all this attention for, coming out when some of us have been in the trenches and we've been fighting religious people all these years, and he gets treated like, it's such a big deal or whatever. Well, then I met him, and he said, oh, you're not like that at all. And he went back to that paper and wrote a retraction article, and he said, I was completely out of line. That's not at all how he is, and he is a brother, and we in the Christian gay community should support him. Well, he walks up, and I saw him, and we aren't even close. When I saw him, I burst into tears because it was just so many. We hugged each other, and I'm sobbing because I want people to be right with each other. Can I tell you, please just hear me with as much purity as you can. I don't endorse candidates. I never did. Even back when the church was big, I would let anybody speak, but I never thought you were supposed to. I thought when you endorsed a candidate, you could jeopardize your 501c3 nonprofit status. So I never did that. I'm fine with, there's a part of my brain that's liberal. There's a part of it that's conservative. I can identify with the Republicans. I can identify with Democrats. I can identify with libertarians. I mean, I hear everybody's viewpoint. I think, I see your point. I see your point. And I like that there's different ideologies where people can discuss things. And I like there being a two-party system. And somewhere between those two, the tension of those two ideologies, we have what we call America. I love that. I love dissent. I love discussion. I love, broaden my horizons. Tell me something I may not know. I'm willing to hear your point. What grieves me now, and I thought it was bad during Obama's campaign, it's worse now, is the hatred and the vitriol and it's like the division is so extreme. At this point, it's not even about who's running for office. It's about, God, really? Y'all going to have to take some of this stuff back because on November 9th, you're going to have to figure out a way to live together, whoever's in office. And, like, what happened to the civility or the, whatever? I'm in it now. I might as well say it. There was a time that anytime you did a intercessors thing, you always prayed for the president. That was just intercession 101. Before when I used to do weeks of prayer, before we started anything, I would say, Scripture says to pray for those in authority. So I would always pray for whoever the president was. And that included when George W. Bush was the president and I had issues with Iraq and people were making fun of him not being articulate, whatever. I never say anything negative about him. I always say, that's our president. We pray for him. Always did. That was what you always did. Not now. A couple of years ago on President's Day, I made the mistake of just posting the scripture. Pray for those in authority. That's all I said. And I said, fasten your seatbelts. I said, don't forget to pray for your president today. That's all I said. 15 people unfriended me in the next 30 minutes. I was cussed out. I had to block 10 or 12 people. And I thought, wow, this is really? Pray for your president now has become, that's a controversial statement? Really? Wow. Suddenly, I don't recognize America, and I sure don't recognize Christians. Because I was always taught, whatever you take it to the ballot box, and whoever gets elected, that's your president, and you honor them no matter who they are, no matter who he is or she is or black, white, whatever. That's your president. You don't say that now. You don't say it now, buddy. That grieves me. That's not about politics. That's about, wow. That's Jesus saying nation rising against nation in our own nation. Back to, and if you unfriend me or get mad at me for that statement, I just held up a mirror to you, and you better look at yourself, because I know I'm right in what I just said. I know I'm right. And I would advise you not to take issue with that statement. If you disagree with it, you should probably pass on to talking about other things, because when it comes to unity I'm right about unity. When it comes to inclusion, I'm right about inclusion. Don't speak against it, even if this has nothing to do with politics. It's about, just again, you said to make kids with food allergies feel included. I felt that. Because I've never been allergic to anything. But I thought, God, that must really stink for little kids. Because Halloween, oh, Lord Jesus. When I was growing up, Halloween just about rivaled Christmas. I mean, I was all about Christmas, but Halloween, that was like, wait a minute. I can wear a costume and I can go to people's houses and they will give me free candy. Are you kidding me? This has got to be like the best thing ever. And I never thought about, wow, that must be really hard. I never thought about that with kids with, like, Halloween must be difficult or, whatever. And I love that she said it makes them feel included. And inclusion opens up a whole litany of, now how do we make it, yes, it's complicated and it's messy. Inclusion is not easy. But I know I'm right about it. All right, back on topic. This is good, though, isn't it? I'll end with this quote. It's like everyone tells a story about themselves inside their own head. Always, all the time. That story makes you what you are. We build ourselves out of that story. Well, I am who God made me. Let me clarify. God created you. He created the animals, but he brought them to Adam to see what he would name them. Whatever Adam called them, God called them that. God created you, but you are what you believe you are. It's interesting. I remember, Lord knows I had issues with David Huskins and was brokenhearted when he committed suicide. But I remember a sermon he preached one time that was just, I'll never forget it. He was talking about how the spies that went into Jericho, and in one place the Rahab was called the harlot, but they go and they say, and it says they went in and brought the woman out, and he was saying what man calls a harlot, God says is his daughter. It's really, really powerful. Sadly, there were things that he couldn't walk in his own truth because he's preaching to himself. And I know what it's like to preach to yourself. Thank God I have enough liberty where I can live what I preach. And I wasn't planning on saying that, but we're in a new era. This is a new era of truth, and speak the truth in love. Paul says that's the only way we're going to grow up. We grow up by speaking the truth in love. And the truth isn't, I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. No, that's putting the mojo on somebody. That's why somebody asked me what I meant by this, and I'm glad they did, because they're a giver. Somebody asked me, what did you mean by people manipulating with gifts? This is what I meant by that. Baby, if you want to give me a gift, I'm all about it. I mean, I've been given my whole life. I haven't even gotten near the 60-fold return, much less the 100-fold return. So you don't ever have to worry. But I did say the other day, and it's a valid question, what did you mean by people manipulating with gifts? What I'm talking about is, like, I can remember every church my dad pastored, the women of the church always thought my mom should tone it down, the way she dressed. That was always, they had that argument my whole life. And I can remember, like, on birthdays and stuff, women in the church would give my mom some, like, granny gown or something. Looks like nothing she would ever wear. And I know that's what I was talking about, that kind of somebody saying, I don't like the way you look. This isn't about a gift. This is me giving you a message that you need to change. People need to be who they are and be celebrated for that. So when I say speak the truth in love, what I'm saying is, you may be a whitewashed sepulchre full of dead men's bones, but in the same statement, I can say the kingdom of God's within you. Man, Charles, cut my mic off so I will just shut up. Because if you don't, no, yesterday, I know the movie's about to start. I'm going to be in the middle of the movie. That food was so good yesterday, even though I was full. As we sat there, because it's on a big lazy Susan, I kept saying, I just want to taste one more bite of that barbecue. And they were talking, one more piece of okra. And I remember saying to myself, you have to stop. And I did, because I know what it's like. Turn me back on. I know what it's like to walk out of a place and go, oh, God, I shouldn't have that. I don't like that, and it gives me heartburn. I don't like it. But that's kind of the way I feel about today. I just want to keep talking about this. I just want to swing that lazy Susan around one more time. Let me tell you about Genesis 2 one more time. But I've got to stop. Stand up now. Stand up before I change my mind. Now, here's the thing. I can't call your life what it should be. I can only inspire you to call it yourself. Whatever Adam called. Adam, where are you? I'm naked. Well, all right. If you say you're naked, but that's not how I see you. Good stuff. You know what? It's so late. Let's don't run this. Y'all know what to do. Thank you for giving. If you're making a check, Danny's back there. Make it JESM. If you have cash, pay it forward. I will definitely say it next week with Jonas here. But if you want to bless him, I know he will not fight with you. I mean, I paid him, but it's always good to tip your waiters, or not waiters, but you know what I mean. The people that you are a blessing to you. You're beautiful. I love you. You're righteous in my sight. You're smart. You're intelligent. All things are working together for your good. You mean a lot to me personally. Your life is valuable. You are a blessing, not just to me, not just to Metron, but to the world. You're going to have an excellent day. It's a beautiful day. Get out and breathe some of this. The air is so nice today. Get out and breathe it and enjoy it, and then break a sweat, take a picture of it, put a hashtag on it, and wake up tomorrow saying, this is the day that the Lord has enabled me to make. I will rejoice and be glad in it. God bless you. Go in peace. If some of y'all will help Ken tear it down, because we got to get out of here. I've got to shut up. Go.